Okay guys, my neighbour has just installed a new refrigeration system and I thought you'd be interested to see it. So I've come down to the basement, or sort of part of the landscape garden. We're going to take a look at this compressor. There's the car, by the way, not mine, I'm afraid. So we'll start actually, rather than the compressor, we'll start with the condenser. And there's a good going gale here. My hair I can feel getting blown quite nicely. So we've got 3 of these big fans. I don't know how big they are. They look about probably a metre in diameter. Let's see if we can get any information off these fan motors. There we go, 380 to 480 volts, 1,900 volts, 100,900 watts, 2.9 amps. Looks like it says there could be AC drive or inverter drive. Interesting. And let's see if we can actually look back and you can actually see. Let's move on, let's see what else we've got in here. Difficult to see here. That looks like the compressor with a few refrigerant lines there. And we've got some big, heavily insulated refrigerant lines coming up here. Someone perhaps who knows more about this sort of thing can tell me what's going on. Primary blended refrigerant, I assume that's just referring to the particular composition. See, that's interesting though, we've actually got a nice warning label on the compressor talking about release of refrigerant, and presumably simply because there's so much of it, it actually could pose a hazard. Interesting. Firefighting measures, hazardous decomposition products, stability cleanup measures, first aid, and this is R404A. Again, I'm not that familiar with R404A, but normally most of the refrigeration equipment I've seen either uses R407C, which is a replacement for the old R22, or R410A. So I'm sure somebody here could tell me what the advantages are. So this big cabinet here, I'm sure must be the compressor. I can't think of what else it could be. But it's dead quiet. I mean, you can hear it humming, but not very much. This is the reason why I think it's the compressor, because there's a high pressure liquid line coming out of it. And if we look up at the top, there are a couple of vapor lines going in. So it must be a compressor, but it's just so quiet. I just literally can hardly hear it. There's actually a data plate on it, but again, it doesn't say anything about a compressor. It just says, you know, 25 bar pressure, 14 bar pressure, receiver volume, blah 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 blah. Not very interesting. But there, that looks like the high pressure liquid refrigerant line there, or high pressure gas rather. So there we go. Coming back this way. And then it runs over to this rather impressive looking receiver. I mean, this is serious size receiver. I mean, look at the size of that thing. Right, it's big. Huge. Let's see if we can see some data sheet on it. There's some data on it. High pressure gas. Manufactured 2011, pressure 33 bars, 19 bars, 80 litres, and then down there's a filter for it, a couple of sight glasses. You can actually just see the refrigerant in that one top. Pretty cool. So, and finally, That thing is quite a power hog. So you can see the heavy duty 250 amp 3-phase current input here through a sealed distribution board owned by the electricity company. And there's a meter there. In fact, that's actually a CT cabinet. But we'll take a closer look at the meter as best we can. So a CT meter, Elster meter A1140. It says it's got a 200 amp transformer on it, and you can see the registers counting quite nicely. Unfortunately, you can't actually see the actual register itself, but you can see the LEDs, which I think they say 100 watt hours or 10 watt hours, but that'll be based upon secondary current rather than primary current. So you have to multiply that by 40 to get the actual power consumption. I think what this says, it says 100 impulses per kilowatt hour and 100 impulses per kilovar hour, with power watt hours on the right and var hours on the left. So it's using a lot of power if you multiply that by 40. So there we go. That's all for today.